This episode is made possible by New Masters Academy, the world's absolute #1 online art school in the entire world. Click the link down below for a free 7-day trial. I am deep in the annals of your mind. I am deep in the annals of your... Hey everybody, welcome back to the Honey and Absinthe After Hours Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for the Hollywood animation industry.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business,
and whatever we feel like. Now today we're going to talk about how Lightyear flopped and where does Hollywood go from here.
But before we get into it, make sure to like, subscribe, jingle all our bells and buttons, please and thank you.
There is a tiny little hand. I want you to touch it with your mouse.
Touch.
Thank you
Touch
so
it.
much. Oh, hello there. Look at you with your hair and your face and your feet. How do they look?
You look great. You look great on this fine Monday morning because you are here with us and you're going to have a great week. A fantastic, fantastic week.
So, Janet, I think the unthinkable happened. A Toy Story movie. Technically, in all technicality, a Toy Story spin-off, but I just want to say a Toy Story movie totally failed in the box office.
Yes.
And I mentioned Lightyear last week in regards to, like, you know, the box office, and even I was thinking, like Lightyear's gonna make money, man. Like, Lightyear, come on. I mean, I'm not gonna see it. I'm a jaded, sad person.
Yeah.
Jaded, sad person who works in Hollywood.
Yes.
Why would I want to watch that movie? But I understand, there's a bunch of me's who probably think fondly on this franchise and want to see this, want to share it with their kids. You know, even though it's not like a core Disney movie. I understood if you're a Disney, if you're a Pixar Toy Story fan, you could totally understand what they're going for. This is the Buzz Lightyear. This is the Buzz Lightyear.
Right.
This is supposed to be the Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is I think what makes Buzz interesting isn't the fact that he apparently in this movie is this larger than life spaceman. I think what made Buzz really, really interesting in the movies was his identity crisis.
Yes.
Of I am a spaceman, am I not? No, you're a toy.
Yes.
You're kidding me. I'm not a toy. I'm a spaceman. No. You don't understand. You're a toy. And that's what makes Buzz really interesting.
Right. See, what people don't know about you is you are the target audience for this Lightyear movie.
You couldn't ask for a better bullseye target than like somebody like me.
Yeah, exactly.
I went to see it, El Capitan, when I was like 4 or 5, 6, something like that. And then I saw the movies. I was about the same age as Andy in the third movie. I love this franchise a lot.
Yeah. I
should have went and seen this movie.
Exactly. You are like the biggest Toy Story fan that I know. Yeah.
Everyone kind of like is what even at school, even at art center, no one really bonds about Toy Story.
Yeah.
Everyone was into usually it was either Shrek or How to Train Your Dragon was like, you know.
Yeah.
It's like saying I like Led Zeppelin. Like, yeah, obviously. Like, what else do you like? You know what I mean? But I feel like me and actually my friend from high school, my best friend from high school, are the only two people who adore Toy Story. And my friend from high school is also like me, same age, went to the same school, grew up together, that kind of stuff. When I saw this trailer, I immediately saw what they were going for. It was sort of like that weird one-off animated TV show that they did a while back, like probably 20 years ago. They did something like this, where they did like a 2D animated TV show about what the Buzz Lightyear is supposed to be. But for this one, I was like, oh, well, I didn't see Toy Story 4. I heard really good things. I trust that it's great. Yeah. But I keep saying, the third Toy Story movie is how I want to remember that franchise ending. And I highly recommend that if they ever have the opportunity to ruin something that you like Harry Potter,
Yes.
Naruto, but like Star Wars, it's kind of good at first.
Yeah.
But at first sign, shit's bad.
Yeah.
Don't watch it anymore.
Yeah.
Remember it for what remember it for the best of what you think it is, and as soon as you hear it like goes to shit, just don't.
Just preserve it for yourself.
Yeah, because then you really like look back and like I really look back and go like, man, that Andy story, that's like our story, my age group story.
It's specifically like young millennial. Like we're like cusp millennial between millennial and Gen Z, and it's like I remember when Toy Story 3 came out. It was specifically, I forgot who told me this, but it was, they know what they're doing. They know that they like Toy Story came out. It was like it changed a generation of movie making and children who were obsessed with Toy Story about your age. And then Toy Story 2 comes out, and then 3 follows the exact age progression as that original Toy Story fan. And so then now, especially with Lightyear coming out on Father's Day,
what do you think they're expecting?
Yeah,
they're like, expecting people like me to bring my kids to see Buzz Lightyear.
Because this is like any franchise movie, like Star Wars, like Jurassic Park, like whatever. They're trying to get the old fans, and they're trying to get new, let's say Gen Z fans, or even younger, like Gen Alpha, whatever. And they're trying to get the parents to introduce it to this new generation of people they can ply money out of. Unfortunately, so we saw the Lightyear trailer way back in 2021, when you guys forced me to watch The Eternals, and the teaser, I guess, played in front of that movie. And I remember, like, that was the first time I saw it at all, and I was like, why, first of all, am I not excited to watch this movie? I should be. And that's kind of a problem, because I know the marketing for Toy Story has always been literally people like us, specifically you, like little boys who grew up and following along. And I was like, that doesn't look good. I don't really think it's gonna do well. And you didn't believe me.
I didn't believe you. I thought you were bitter old Janet, talking crap about the industry.
Yeah.
You know, saying all sorts of really negative stuff. I was like, how could anything Toy Story remotely like
flop?
Go bad, flop? I think you're crazy. And I think I asked you when all this was going down, when we saw the numbers that Monday, I asked you something like, if you were to go back, if I were to go back in 2019, remember 2019 when you were contemplating quitting Disney?
Yes.
What if I went back and told you that there would be a Buzz Lightyear movie? Now, if I told you that, that's not a surprise to you.
No, of course.
Yeah, but the bigger surprise is, what if I told you that it flopped in the box office? That it has a really, really low chance of making its money back anytime soon.
In 2019, I'd be like, what did they do? How did they mess it up that bad?
I probably said something like, it's like too hard to explain, but I think you leaving Disney is probably a sign of
the right
what
move.
Yeah
like clearly, like, you're getting people like me to like become really disillusioned by it and being like, you know what, I got better stuff to do with my time. Meanwhile, who's left making Lightyear? Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna do well, and you thought I was just being, bitter, but I was trying to be not biased and look at it clear, like.
And maybe I was being too biased with my thinking that people actually cared about Toy Story, which I swear I thought they did.
I understand Toy Story is huge. My problem with it was like, this is at this point a franchise movie, and it's trying to do the nostalgia thing. But even in the teaser, it wasn't triggering the nostalgia thing in my brain. Like, normally, I don't have nostalgia for Star Wars. I don't have nostalgia for Jurassic Park and those type of franchises because I lived under a rock. My parents never showed me movies growing up. But I do have nostalgia for Toy Story. And I was like, it's not It's not doing the thing it's supposed to do. And I was analyzing it on a critical art level, and I was like, why? And the first thing I'm sure everyone noticed is that Tim Allen doesn't play Buzz Lightyear. It's Chris Evans. And when I saw him say the thing that Buzz Lightyear always says in the teaser, I was like, he should have made, in that moment, it should have been like, oh, it's so cool. It's Buzz Lightyear again.
Hype.
But because it's a completely different person saying it, I was like, it's the same words, but it's not doing the thing. And then on top of that, the design language of Lightyear himself, he looks, it's a lot more realistic, and it doesn't have, like, it has the idea of Buzz Lightyear, I guess, is what they're going for, like, that but because it's a completely different silhouette, even when they showed the silhouette of Buzz that should be so iconic, I was like, it's not the same. So it's not triggering that base subconscious thing in my brain. And I was like, this, yes, it's titled Lightyear, but it could have been called anything else. Like, it's not really about Toy Story, because it's about Buzz Lightyear and the real person behind. And I was just like, if they made it a completely different world, like not in the Toy Story, the Lightyear world, it probably would have been like received exactly the same, because like you're not taking advantage of the nostalgia that this franchise comes with if you're not doing those things. And I was like, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm like bitter and jaded, and I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe you're right that the Toy Story fans, there are a lot more of them than I realize. But then I was on like Twitter one day. I saw an ad served to me for like Lightyear, and I was curious. I went into the comment thing to see what people were responding to, and people were really confused because it was one of those movie clip teaser things on Twitter, and people were like, who's the guy voicing Buzz? He doesn't sound the same. So like some people didn't even know who Tim Allen was, but were like upset that Lightyear didn't sound like Buzz Lightyear. And so I was like, ooh, that's bad. That's like, I have a sneaking suspicion this is not gonna do well. And when it came, the opening box office numbers came out, and Lightyear made a measly $50 million on opening box office numbers. They were expecting, according to the news, they were expecting 70 at least, so they were way below target. And then I went and looked up how much it costs to make, the budget of Lightyear. It cost $200 million, about. And then because it seems like Lightyear had a lot of promotion, it's just common knowledge to just double that for them. On top of that, they also spent another $200 million on marketing. So 400, like, this thing costs as much as a Marvel movie to make, and it only made $50 million on opening weekend. It's for sure going to lose money. So that's not good. So everyone is like speculating as to why. Like, how could this fail? Like, you didn't think it was gonna fail. You convinced me that I guess it's not gonna fail. So why do you think it failed?
Well, I'm gonna go back because I don't really like. I think everyone's kind of voicing your concerns about like Tim Allen and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna talk as a Pixar Toy Story fanboy. Okay. I think it is a fine choice to change Buzz Lightyear's voice if this is to be what is considered the Buzz Lightyear that Tim Allen is based off of. Would it have helped if Tim Allen were that Buzz Lightyear? I guess so, but I don't know. What if the art department was like, well, I want more of like a youthful sound to our Buzz Lightyear, which is fine. Like, you know, it would be great if you got that guy, Glenn Powell from Top Gun, to be Buzz Lightyear. Now that's a voice. But like, you get Chris Evans pretending to be Tim Allen,
right,
trying to do the gravelly Tim Allen thing. If you're just doing a faux Tim Allen, you might as well just get Tim Allen. So it's either you go full on into the choice or not. But the choice of not choosing Tim Allen is okay.
Yeah.
If you're telling me that this is different from the toy of Buzz Lightyear, then that's fine. And the whole thing about the look of the movie and the way it doesn't evoke a feeling for you, I empathize with the art department a lot. I really can see that, like, the ship is supposed to be the ship that Buzz Lightyear is packaged in. And then, the Buzz Lightyear outfit is sort of like, for this movie, is sort of like a very, almost like it needs to be, it has to have utility. Yeah. I think, like, the red button is like some sort of eject button now or something. And, like, because, like, the buttons... The reason why people loved Buzz is because of the fucking buttons. Like, I'm not joking. like people bought these toys, and us as a kid, I wanted to press the 3 buttons on Buzz's chest, the other one next to his heart, the one behind his back that extends the wingspan, and there's the one that, like, presses, and there's the laser that comes out, and the one where you flip the thing, and then you can talk into the mic. Like, we all wanted that, but then, like, in the art department, they were like, oh, we need to, like, make this really utilitarian. It needs to look like actually functional. Like, this is like, this could kind of come out in, like, a battle, in, like, a space battle, and it would actually work. Yeah. So the whole design for it is, like, it's fine. It works. It's not wrong. I just feel like what made Buzz exciting to look at in the first place was that triggering, bubbly,
that toy-like
proportion of the suit. But if the mission statement isn't to do that, well, then yeah, I forgive the suit too. But I just feel like all of these choices dilute what I think a Toy Story fan likes in Buzz Lightyear. Whereas then if this is just going to be, if you're not going to say anything special, and, like, listening to the reviews, it just sounds like a very paint by numbers movie. And if you're not going to say anything special, or I thought, maybe in Pixar fashion they could, like, subvert some sort of expectation, but it truly is a Buzz Lightyear goes on an adventure story and fights Zorg or whatever. Like, if it's really going to be that, well, I guess they accomplished their mission, but, like, I think they alienated fans in the process. Yeah. And then another thing too is, I was about to say, like, man, I can really, like, talk about this. Because, like, I could see, that they tried. Okay, so here's one thing. One criticism I have for the art department, and I blame whoever in the studio was like, it needs to look like Star Wars. Right. And it needs to look like a movie like that comes out from now. Like, if this is to be a movie that Andy watched, right, that came out, like, sometime in the 90s, because, like, Toy Story came out in the 90s. Andy's probably 8 in 1994. 6, I want to say. When did Toy Story came out? Something like that. When the first one came out, Annie was like 6 to 8, because we were all kind of 6 to 8 at the time. So, like, what if the art department was like, what if we, like, make a CG animated movie that, like, goes up to every limitation until, like, Terminator 2 or Jurassic Park 1? Because, like, when I look at Lightyear, that looks like a movie that came out now. That doesn't look like something a kid from the 90s saw that inspired him to go to Toys R Us to buy Buzz Lightyear. Because I think that would be, like, this super ultra meta thing that could have baked into the design, that could have made it more forgivable, maybe would have added more, like, bubbliness, like 90s ridiculously boxy charm, whatever the heck the design language was for back then. And then, like, it maybe, like, Buzz's suit wouldn't be, and everything wouldn't be so Halo. Wouldn't be so, like, slick. Expected, actually. Right, yeah. Just expect, like, the ship, kind of, like, the shape of Buzz's packaging is, like, this weird, like, shape. It's almost like I don't know how to say, it's like a dish. I don't know how to say, it's like this shape. I was just, like, making the shape. It's just, like, this shape that, like, is burned into my skull. Yeah. But, like, the ship just looks like a really awesome ship. Right. You know what I mean? Like nothing really stands out to me. And because, like, you know, when you design a toy, it needs to be iconic. But, like, for this, it's like they have this extra mission of, like, oh, it needs to be, like, also a sci-fi movie that Andy's seen.
And it's supposedly real.
Supposedly real. And I just feel like all these decisions probably alienated the audience, and it didn't help with the whole Tim Allen thing and the politics, whatever. You may think about that. It's neither here nor there. It's just like one thing added on top of another. And like to stay pure, I really, like I told you, there's only three. There's only three characters, I think, that can be in this movie. It's Buzz, from the Toy Story franchise. It's Buzz, Zorg, and the aliens.
Yes.
That's it. Like you cannot have Woody. You can't have anybody. You can't have Slinky. You can't have anybody. So like I think what they tried to do, mission accomplished. But like what sucks is that no one took to it.
Right, yeah. And I was thinking about like why, especially knowing like I literally know the audience that they were targeting this for. You think like, oh, it's a kids movie, they're targeting. No, they're targeting for the millennial dads who grew up with Toy Story, because every single movie has been like that. And then these millennial dads, how old are they now? We're like the youngest of the millennials, technically. So I'm about to turn 30. You're in your 30s. Most millennials are in their 30s. It makes me cringe and laugh when people still make fun of millennials, because like the people who you think are millennials now, they're like 20. You're making fun of Gen Z, okay? Like, stop. But like millennials, most of us are in our 30s. We're either career people or we have children now. And Disney's brand...
We're trying to get it together.
To have children, or yeah.
Yeah, or do anything.
But Disney has always been the like I've said this before, but one of my teachers, I was like doing this competition for Disney way back when, and he was like, you need, like, what is Disney's brand? And I thought it was like little girls, like princess movies, like I don't know. And he was like, nope, it's family, because they aren't targeting specifically the kids, they're targeting the entire family. So like the entire family, including grandma, can come watch the movies and be happy. So the reason why they targeted specifically 30-year-old millennial men is because they want us on Father's Day, is because they want those dads to be like, oh, I love Toy Story, come on, I'm going to show you the new Toy Story movie and introduce you to this franchise that I love. Why didn't why didn't you drag me to go see Lightyear? There's inflation, there's traffic, everything's expensive, the taxes are high, the roads are back to back. I don't want to take my kids to see a movie. I'm just going to wait for this to come out on streaming. Why should I suffer through all of that stuff, dealing with watching all this stuff? I think it's that. Yeah. On Father's Day, are you kidding me? I think people have a very poor understanding of what fathers want to do on Father's Day.
Not watch Lightyear, man.
With their kid, like, no. Like, out of all, especially with the competition that's out there too, like with Jurassic Park and Top Gun out there, you really think the dads want to bring their kid to watch a Lightyear? I would do that for my kid's birthday. Like, I'm not gonna go do that for Mother's Day and or Father's Day, you know?
Lobster man.
Yeah, no, we're watching Top Gun, okay, kids. So I was thinking about that, and I was like, I think the deeper idea here is I think millennials finally grew up. Like I said,
if they really feel like they're too busy to watch this movie,
yeah.
And if they're gonna go out and see a movie, they're gonna see like Top Gun, like the movie of the summer.
Yeah. I was thinking about the different generations and how we consume, especially animated movies. Gen X and like my parents, for example, they don't watch animated movies. It's always a thing where before millennials, everyone thought animated movies are just for kids. They're like, why would you watch that past like 15. And, you know, it's just a thing you take your kids to. Then like millennials come along. We grew up on Disney, we grew up on DreamWorks and Pixar. We love, like, we're the generation that basically invented the idea of like Disney heads, that who like grown adults that
we're fanatics about cartoons.
Right, yeah.
I don't think the generation above us, Gen Xers, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they're kind of into, like, they're the Ninja Turtle Transformer generation. They're kind of into it.
Kind of, yeah.
And then the generation below us, the Gen Zers, they like the anime.
Yeah. So,
but us, we kind of liked everything.
Yeah.
Especially like these DreamWorks Pixar movies that came out when we were younger.
So as 20-something-year-olds, it's not uncommon when you're like of that age to have like viewing parties. Especially like for us, we like went to art school. We have a lot of artist friends, animation friends. Like I remember going in and watching so many animated movies with a bunch of other grown-ass millennial adults at that, like, 20-something. But, like, I think, I never thought this would happen, but now that we're approaching 30, we're finally growing up. Like, it's still, like, to some people it's a little weird that a 20-something-year-old will go watch a animated movie. But to a like, the way I see it now, it's kind of weird if us and our friends went and watched a animated movie.
Yeah, imagine like a party of, 4 people our age going to see Lightyear, of all things.
It's very strange.
Come on, what?
I know.
We're gonna watch Black Phone. We're gonna watch Top Gun or whatever, but not that. That's strange. Like, if we really wanted to catch that, wouldn't that be like a Sunday afternoon at somebody's house with popcorn?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That type of thing.
And also, a lot of us millennials don't have kids yet. It might not ever, I don't know. But like, I can count probably on like one hand the amount of people I know who have kids. And I'm just like sadly, Pixar picked the wrong audience to market and promote this movie to, because we're not going to go watch your animated movie anymore. We're too old. We don't have kids. Even if we had kids, we're not going to take them to this movie. We're going to wait till it's on Disney Plus and not parents. Just put our kids in front of the TV or something. And then another point is, no one is taking their kids to the movie theaters specifically to watch animated movies anymore. So, like, we went and watched a movie yesterday, and I thought it was really interesting how many, like, people in their 30s, 20s, and teens were at the theater, and how few little kids were at the theater.
Yeah. I noticed that too. There was like only 2 families in our theater, and the rest of us just like adults or old, just, older people, older than us. And I was like, where are the younger kids? And I was like, well, I guess whatever is, a cartoon, couldn't they just catch on the streaming service?
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a bigger problem here that has nothing to do with like the age we're in. But I guess I'll leave that for later. So, Lightyear flops royally.
Yeah.
Whether it's because of any of the reasons that we have problems with, and we think like maybe it's that, because a lot of people.
People have problems with the lesbian kiss. What's up with that? You think that's a legitimate concern?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Yeah. I think I think people are more upset about Tim Allen than the lesbian kiss. The lesbian kiss, everyone's like really like hyping that shit up. I actually don't think anyone gives that many shits other than like, I saw like a theater post that they were going to fast forward through it. Whatever. That's like that theater in that state. That's a small case. I just really think that everyone's more or less ambivalent to this movie, and their strong opinions about like the voice change. The person who's voicing Buzz Lightyear now is like the only thing that they're concerned about.
Yeah. And that, like, it simply is lack of interest, and the people who would have been interested were alienated from it. Like, I think that's like simpler than being like, oh, politics. Yeah. And no, I'm just like, no. I think people need to go outside and realize most people don't know, don't even care. Yeah. So I think it has it's actually scarier that maybe people are just not interested.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Because then, like, how do you solve that problem?
Yeah.
How do you make people interested?
If it were so simple to just take out a lesbian kiss and suddenly you make $100 million, like, no.
I don't think that's... No.
So, the only reason why I even knew about, like, all this news was because I started seeing a lot of videos from, like, Doomcock, for example, like rumors about the Disney Pixar reaction to the opening box office numbers of how big of a flop it was. And normally I take it with a grain of salt because some people like to shit on Disney having a flop when it's not actually a flop.
Yeah, for the views, right?
Yeah. But I watched it and I was like, oh, this is genuinely a flop. Like, there's no...
It sounds bad.
Yeah.
It sounds really bad.
And according to Doomcock's secret Hollywood spies, Disney's having like a PR nightmare right now. And they're like having meetings on how to deal and how to figure out how to spin this into like... And I thought it was really fascinating. The way Doomcock made it sound, if you believe his Hollywood spies, Disney is more concerned with their image and brand right now than this movie actually making or losing money.
And we were having lunch, and I asked you, what does that say? That's their top priority right now?
I think Disney's terrified of losing the FOMO generator that they have. The idea that, like, they can just put out a Marvel movie and people will go because they're not even really thinking about whether or not they want to watch it, or if it's a good movie, it's because everyone else is going to go see it.
Oh, Disney movie.
Yeah.
I see.
And I think it really benefits them, for example, when they get to pick what holiday they get to put their blockbuster movie on, and every other studio avoids it like the plague for at least 2 weeks, meaning they're like guaranteed $1 billion movie every time.
What do you have to say to all the executive producers in every studio that isn't Disney? What would you say to them right now?
Now's your chance to get in there. Stop avoiding, like, stop giving Disney room to breathe, and just like put your Top Gun
right in front of their Thor.
Yeah.
Right in their fucking face, man.
Yeah. And do it.
Like, do it. It'll be fun for us to watch, like the enthusiasts for this type of stuff. Like, yeah. It'd be epic. It's kind of amazing that you guys had like 2 weeks in between, like 2 or 3 weeks in between Doctor Strange and then something as big as Top Gun.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't believe it. Yeah. I was like, come on, guys.
Yeah, it was really...
Let's get aggressive here, man.
Yeah,
because like the only, like, the people who will benefit the most, us.
Yes.
Be so much good shit to watch, hopefully.
Yeah. Like, I don't like having, like, oh, Disney movies coming out. There's going to be, like, a dry spell of movies. And
then I just don't go to a movie theater for a whole month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's so annoying. So that's why I think Disney's, like, desperate to figure out, to tell people to shut up and stop poking the bear that is, like, the internet, and, like, just let us control the narrative.
So what exactly do you think, what are the sentiments do you think the employees got from the emails and the meetings?
I mean, Doomcock was really vague, so it just seems like they were like, don't stop posting on social media anything about anything. Like, we want to be able to control the narrative. If it does good, then we can celebrate that it did good in the media. If it did bad, we can talk about how, oh, well, we weren't even expecting that much anyways.
Lightyear, we're totally expecting 50 million.
Yeah. Totally. So like apparently they were expecting 100 million, something like that, but then it was like revised to like 70 when they found out the numbers.
So this is my spiel on like this era of Pixar, which I hate. And all like, so it seems very apparent to me that Pixar didn't believe enough in Luca and Turning Red, and they stuck those motherfuckers in Disney Plus.
Yes.
And they expected Lightyear to make bank.
Yes.
And what's sad is like I actually do think like there are people who really like those two movies, especially Luca.
Yeah.
And like those, why didn't those end up in the theaters? The people who made those, they didn't expect it to be a made for like treated like a made for TV movie.
Right.
But like forever, however much you think like, oh yeah, like Turning Red does a great job with its like politics and all that stuff. Like when it really matters, they don't put that movie up. No. They put Lightyear up.
Yeah.
And they expected this to make $100 million.
Yeah. Because like
and then after making that decision, like they like make nowhere near what they projected to make.
Yeah, it's so sad.
And like imagine being on the team on Luca or Turning Red and going like, well then fuck, huh?
Yeah.
It kind of makes you go like, well then you should have just like, maybe not so Luca because it kind of came out in the heat of COVID, but like Turning Red came out when people were watching Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
Like why didn't they just like put it out? Mm-hmm. So I don't know what the hell is going on with Pixar and Disney. Yeah. I think Pixar should divorce from Disney, like they've always wanted to.
Yeah.
For years and years and years, because it's like it's not like Disney is doing them any favors at this point.
Well, they're not doing themselves any favors.
That's true.
But
apparently it's the employees, right?
Yeah. So apparently no one ever calls out the employees themselves because I think people feel bad that like these crazy employees are crazy. But I think some employees said some stuff, but specifically they had meetings about like Chris Evans running his mouth on Twitter or something, and I was like, come on, Kai, like when they I just like, to me it's like Pixar, the company, are more concerned with their image and controlling like their actors and their employees and like the narrative than they are like the fact that it's almost like they knew it was going to not make money at a certain point.
Really?
Yeah. Because like if you just found out you lost a bunch of money, what would you be more upset about? Why is it that you're upset more about like controlling the PR? I've been listening to the 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. It's a fantastic productivity self-help book about why it's so good for you to wake up at 5 a.m. before everyone else. If you would like to listen to this book, head over to audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe Podcast. That's audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe Podcast. But then they did say that they talked about like one thing they are very concerned about and is that their upcoming movies are kind of really woke, like even more than this lesbian kiss thing, and they had to like have an emergency meeting about this or something.
So how much do you think this flop is related to culture war stuff?
I don't think it did.
Why?
Because the more I interact in the world, especially being outside of LA and Hollywood, I realize most normal people don't care. And they don't pick their entertainment depending on... Most people, first of all, don't even like listen to the news or read the news or watch the news. The ones that do are the crazy people who have all sorts of flags in front of their house. From the like...
rainbows
to the like Confederate flag, like you know, like the Fox News flags. I don't think most normal people care, and I think especially for an animated movie, I don't think people consider the movies that they watch like that. They just look at like a synopsis, they look at the trailer, and they judge a book by its cover. Like, oh, I guess I'll watch that today. I don't think it has anything to do with it.
I think the unsexy answer for why, but I think is probably closest to reality. I think to why it flopped is there was simply too much competition, and truly a movie like Top Gun and Jurassic Park and this sort of like ultra like kind of like played straight Buzz Lightyear movie are kind of in the same demographic. Yeah. It's kind of the same people. You want to bring your kid, you could bring your kids to see Top Gun or Jurassic Park, and I thought there was just like too much competition, and and I think Top Gun is probably just like, it's just dominating the box office right now.
Yeah,
like people are just watching that movie, and like we just saw Elvis. Which was I don't really want to talk about it very much, but that was the reason why we're at the theater. And I thought, like, man, how many people are here still to see Top Gun?
I think a lot.
Like, I'm really excited to see, like, I think it's its fifth weekend coming up.
So the fact that feature movies are on the line, I was like, this sounds like a lot of other things that I've heard happen through the grapevine in other studios way back when we were studying in school and being like, oh, so a movie can just get canceled just like that. So what a lot of people might not know about Pixar is that they have this reputation in Hollywood and in the art community of being the Oscar bait studio. A lot of people don't know that Pixar, even though it's technically Disney, it's separate from any of the Disney stuff. It kind of like is its own thing for the most part. They make their franchise movies, the ones that like make a lot of money. They know it's going to make a lot of money.
Cars, Toy Story.
Yeah. Incredibles, whatever. And Monsters. They'll make those and guarantee a certain amount of money so that they can make their more Oscar bait movies that they're known for winning Oscars for, like Inside Out, stuff like that. They just shelved like Soul, Luca, Turning Red because they didn't believe in them. And then they put out their franchise movie expecting it to make lots and lots of money. It didn't. So now they're talking about their next Oscar bait movie that's more experimental, more woke, more whatever. Sounds like an entire movie is going to get canceled. A lot of people are about to get laid off. And a lot of blame to be thrown around.
A lot of bitter feelings.
Yeah. It doesn't sound good. But this means really good things for audience members, because this means like if shit hit the fan as hard as I think it did, I think we're in for an era of better movies.
Why?
Because like I'm sure if they don't want to just completely fall to the wayside like so many other studios have, they have to like adjust and like stop making movie. Like the thing that upset me the most about when I heard reviews about Lightyear was how paint by numbers it was. Because I was like, you're Pixar. Like, even though like Pixar isn't technically part of the guild, you don't get any of the benefits. I think a lot of them actually get paid really, really poorly compared to like if you were actually working for Disney. And you don't get guild benefits, so you don't. Yeah. Pixar always had this prestige of like story is king, and like we're kind of like we are the studio that wins the Oscars for animation. I felt disappointed that Lightyear sounds like it was so paint by numbers, so like let's just make the money. And then on top of that, the whole lesbian kiss thing, and I was like, I thought story was king. Clearly, your political agenda and whatever bullshit that you have wrapped up in your head is more important than the story. What happened? Well, like again, the naive, innocent child in me that like wanted to work for a studio like that, wanted that prestige, wanted to be part of something like that, and then for it to do the exact opposite of what I thought it was. I was like, that's so disappointing, man. I can't wait when Pixar goes back to that, though. I think we're in for an era of bad animated movies for a while, and for animated movies to not be doing so well for the coming future. And I also think, like, going back to the whole, if I were a parent, I would probably watch Lightyear at a barbecue, at home, throwing it up on the TV to distract the kids while I'm, like, drinking or something. And I realized, I think Disney has trained audiences to expect animated movies specifically to be available on streaming. So that's why so few kids are being taken to the theater now. Because ideally, no parent wants to take their kid to the theater. Come on. Date night, whatever. They want date night. They want to watch a movie that they're interested in. They do not want to drag their kids along. But their kids have to be dragging them along and being like, oh, I really want to watch Sing 2 or something. Like, a parent doesn't, like, want to watch these movies with their kids most of the time. And I was like, yeah, if I really think I would watch Lightyear if it was on Disney Plus, and if I had a kid to watch it with. So I think this is a sign that I always knew about Western animation, that no one wanted to admit for the longest time. I think, like, it's time. I think people in Hollywood, people in general, people who watch movies, don't consider animation as, like, true film. I think it has been always a distraction for kids. And I think people, other than millennials, didn't really care for animated stuff. So what will do well is live action for a while, because the animated stuff now are, as a whole, is kind of like relegated to like made for TV, made for streaming at this point. Like, I don't think people are willing to go to the theater and watch animated stuff anymore. And I find, and like, it's not something that like makes me happy to say. Like, I think it's really sad. Like, I really, as a millennial who was very obsessed with cartoons, it makes me sad that people don't want to go to the theater to watch just a cartoon. But like, I think it's true. I think somehow, now that we have this thing that, like, this newfangled streaming thing, I think people just don't, they're not going to pay good money to watch an animated thing unless it's, like, particularly unique.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're going to have to do something really different, like how Top Gun did something really different to that genre of movie, action genre, which has been totally overtaken by CG for almost a decade now. You're going to have to do something really different with animation for people to want to experience what you did in the theater. Because what you're saying to audiences is, like, animation, that's like, you know, that's the stuff you throw in front of your kid, you put on the tablet, and then, like, you put it in front of them, and, you know, they're hypnotized by it, and you get to do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. That's what you're saying animation is. And what you said animation was before is this art form that's supposed to be taken seriously. Right. It's this art form that can win an Oscar. Mm-hmm. It's an art form that, like, can move people like The Godfather or something like that. It can be more than just, you know, Steamboat Willie whistling. Right. You know, it can be more than that. But now what you're telegraphing to every audience person who is remotely into the medium that, like, oh, this medium is truly a distraction at this point. You're not saying, like, this is an art form meant to be on the screen, because you're just going to put it out. Like, a movie like Turning Red looks like something that should be in a theater. Yeah. That does not look like DreamWorks' Spirit movie. Yeah. You know what I mean? Now, right. I don't think that should be in a theater, but, like, this Turning Red movie should have been. Mm-hmm. And I still am like, man, just imagine being in that team. That's imagine working on that movie and telling your parents, oh, I'm going to take you to see this Turning Red movie in theaters. Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
Working on movies for the big screen.
Oh, my Lord.
I'm not just a plebe TV person. I make feature movies, but no, you end up on streaming. Do you think CG is over?
It's funny that it started with Toy Story 1 and it has ended with Lightyear.
Yeah.
the executives, this is what we're always told in art school, where when we would always ask our teachers why, like, oh, how come CG? How come hand-drawn thing? How come, people don't bust out the paints anymore? It's because the executives believe that CG is a draw. That when they believe that audiences think that if it's CG, if it's not CG, it's less than. They're not going to go see it because it's cheaper, it's older, it's old school. It's what they used to do. Yeah. But now things are different. I think there's a whole generation of people who are appreciating something like anime.
Right.
Where things are hand-drawn, and pretty much everything that people adored animation for in the 90s, people adore anime for now. Yeah. And to this generation of Gen Z, this is like new to them, watching drawings move. It's magic to them, like how it was magic to us in the 90s to watch Lion King. Right. But the execs always believe that, like, oh, but it has to be CG. Yeah. And execs are like, oh, it can't just be like CG. It has to be more textures, has to be better lighting. And now we have to have like the patina of the camera. Now we have to have focal length. And we need to be able to like, everything's not made in a box in a computer. It needs to feel like it's shot through a lens, but everything's still made through a computer. So like everything needs to be like that. And I think you have no fucking excuse anymore. Lightyear looks beautiful. It looks animated beautifully. It is probably the most amazing CG animated movie ever made. And it didn't make money. Yeah. What are we doing spending $200 million on a Lightyear movie when Top Gun only needed $150 million to get jets in the fucking sky? What are you doing? Because it's like, whose fault is it making a $200 million Buzz Lightyear movie, shelving two other probably perfectly capable movies, like basically putting them out to pasture, and then banking on this one? It's kind of your fucking fault. Yeah, this happened, you know. And I'm a little peeved because like this shouldn't have happened. Right. So this is Buzz. This is Toy Story. This is your legacy. This is like, and I was just thinking about this, like we talk a big game about like we don't care about our legacy. We live in the middle of nowhere, but these are people who do. Yeah. And I like for example the thing with Will Smith and the Oscars and kind of like pretty much everything from Amy Schumer to everybody. Like no one cares about these people. I think every regular person looks at these Hollywood, well-to-dos like with kind of scorn. We don't really like these people. They kind of like, are really wealthy people who get to run their fucking mouths while everybody has to pay fucking $10 gas. You know what I mean? So fuck these people. And I think about like the whole thing with Will Smith like smacking and I just think about like the decades and decades and decades of Oscars and walking through the Kodak Theater and seeing from the pillars of like what won that year Best Picture, and like Casablanca, Godfather, and then Godfather 2, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. This is a legendary thing that Hollywood does, and I think I think they're squandering it. I think because of the internet, I think Hollywood feels self-conscious about their role in culture, and I think now is the time. It really looks like everything's upside down. Like one of the best looking CG animated movies that is kind of a spin-off of the CG animated movie that started it all, bombed in the box office. Yeah. How does this happen?
Meanwhile, Demon Slayer is like making record like amounts of money
internationally.
Yeah. So I think CG is not cool anymore because when we did it before, it was like new and not like when like you said, the first Toy Story came out, it was like revolutionary, and since then we've been improving upon it every single year since, to the point where we have Lightyear now and it's beautiful. And I just feel like for us millennials, we grew up with 2D and CG was novel. For Gen Z, they grew up with CG and 2D is novel. And
what do you think a lot of these Gen Zers were doing during lockdown? They were drawing. Yeah. And like it kind of trips them out when they see drawings move. I think they really like raw animation too, like because it looks attainable to them. Yeah. It's and then like Nirvana thing. It's like the Nirvana punk rock thing. It's like Nirvana is like hand drawn animation, punk rock, and then like Dream Theater Rush is basically Lightyear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like impossible.
Yeah.
Like how can any young person look at those giants and go like, oh yeah, I could do that. Like no way.
Something that I've been noticing this trend towards the physical for a really long time. I just haven't started saying it till recently. But when back in I think 2019 or 2018, when we first got on TikTok, what was really fascinating to me was how like we're big proponents of like drawing traditionally, painting traditionally, because in our day job all we do is work on the computer. I don't want to do that when I go home and I just draw for myself or paint for myself. So and I realized after doing that like digital stuff a lot, my skills in actually being able to draw traditionally deteriorated. So when we started doing conventions full time, it was like a big goal of mine to be like, no, I need to keep up those skills. So like surprisingly, a lot of people in the industry can't draw for real anymore. Like they can do it on like phenomenally on like Photoshop or something, but like when it comes to holding an actual pencil, it's like you lose the muscle memory. We still had it because we did it so often. On TikTok, all the Gen Z kids were like, oh my god, this is amazing, when they would see us draw at conventions, online, everything. And I noticed this huge resurgence of this like experimental indie animation. Gen Z loves 2D animation. They absolutely adore it, which is why they love anime. And on top of that, like, to them, that's new. To me, it's also kind of new, because when I look at something like Demon Slayer, it's 2D and CG put together. It's like we stopped doing 2D at a certain point where we never progressed past it because we couldn't anymore. Like when you get to like Glen Keane's level, how much better can you get at that point? But then we've developed all the CG technology to be able to make something as cool looking as Demon Slayer. And I feel like because anime loves the traditional aspect of that, like they're always going to like do some kind of 2D thing. And I'm just like, haven't we pushed CG to like the limit at this point? Like I know
when you look at something at like Lightyear, wouldn't you think like, yeah, I don't know, you could probably add a few more pixels and divots to the spaceship, but I don't, and pores on the skin, but like how much better could this look?
It reminds me of like when we pushed 2D to the limit of like the second golden era of Disney animation. Now we have all this tech. Why don't we go revisit 2D and see now how much further can we push it? And that's what we had started to do. Like I saw way back when I was in college, them mixing 2D and CG, or like seeing what the Japanese are doing with anime and stuff like that now, like 10 years later after I started seeing it in the West. And still, the first movie I've ever seen do it was Spider-Verse, and it was received fantastically. And now the second movie I've seen it kind of being done is Bad Guys. And if you were to ask me how I would fix, or at least address this new problem of like people aren't going to watch animated movies anymore, I would say stick to low budget animated movies. And what better way to get that accomplished than to do 2D or a 2D CG mix like Bad Guys. And Bad Guys, surprisingly, only had like a $70 to $80 million budget, and they didn't make a whole ton of money. They've made like 200 million worldwide currently, but that means they broke even.
Yeah.
At least you're not losing hundreds of millions of dollars like Lightyear.
Oh my god.
On top of that, I would focus on more original ideas specifically focused for kids, because
what are you doing catering to us?
Yeah, like
know?
we're
worried about gas.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about my childhood. It just makes me sad.
Yeah.
God.
And I would focus on original ideas because franchise movies just simply cost more. Like the marketing and the talent that you have to hire, like the Tim Allens you have to hire and get all over, like, you know. I would focus on like lower stakes, I guess. And I would say push the 2D and the mixed media, because, like, sadly, to me, Bad Guys look more interesting than Lightyear.
I think so too.
Yeah.
With the whole 2D and 3D thing, I think this isn't a contest. I think if you were thinking 2D is better than CG or CG is better than 2D. No, I think like you need to have more imagination and be like, what if we can combine the best of both elements? What kind of experimental stuff could we see that we've never seen before when we implement both? It's not about adding more pixels or more hairs on the head. It's now it's more like about like what can be flat, what can be shapely, what can be iconic, and what can be like super dense. Like you could really make these artistic decisions without like spending an ungodly amount of money on a CG team.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I saw all of this new tech and new style of animation like at least 10 years ago. Like this might be new to like you, the audience members, but like when we were in art school and this stuff was all being developed by people like us, like this was like so exciting, and it kind of in a weird way feels old already for me, because I'm like, I've seen this done before like 1,000 times, but the people haven't, because it's just been like experimental behind the scenes for the longest time, and like that's so sad. It's like, clearly Spider-Verse worked. Like, what are you doing? Why are all of you still trying to do like the normal CG thing? But at the end of the day, I don't see failures and hitting rock bottom as a bad thing. I actually see it as a really, really good thing. It makes me excited because there's nowhere to go but up from here. Like, once you've hit rock bottom, once you've like ruined a franchise that used to make you boatloads of money, there's only up from there. Because
hopefully you start getting desperate and you think creatively.
Yes.
Like you really think creatively.
Yeah. Like, subscribe, jingle all our bells and buttons, binge all our other episodes over here, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.